Saturday and to the third day of Newmarket's July Festival, and we're going to start with the Pertemps Network. I bet just seeing the words Pertemps got you excited, Ed, didn't it?
Absolutely. I was just refreshing my anti-post list then when you said that. Anyway, I have actually got two for that. We'll speak about it next week's show, but carry on.
That's impossible. You can't.
I sort of keep you on your toes, Tom. Keep you on your toes.
The 435 is the Pertemps Network July Cup. Shaquille is in there at 3.25. Azure Blue, 4.5. Should only run if the rain comes, but the rain's going to come. Little Big Bear, who had a setback earlier in the week, 5.0. Kinross is 5.5, 13.0, and bigger the rest. Now, I was tossing up between two horses, and in the end, I've come down as a no bet because you've selected one of them each. So I'm just going to let you fight it out. I thought this was a slightly disappointing renewal, and my starting point, Steve, was wanting to take on Shaquille because he was slowly away last time. But then I watched Newbury back and thought, well, if he races like he did there, he'll win. So off you go.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too carried away with the price, to be honest, because he's a short price favourite. But the sprinting division has been kind of open to new blood for a little while, probably since Blue Point retired. And Shaquille looks the standout for me. Just because he started slow at Ascot, don't mean he's going to do it again, because I think he just reared up just an inopportune moment there. And for a horse who likes to race prominently, like he did, he made all the running virtually at Newbury before that in a listed race. And I know this is a tougher race, but he did it the wrong way round and still beat Little Big Bear at Ascot. So I just thought he was the solid one and would probably win. It would just be typical of O'Brien to win this with Little Big Bear, a horse that was beaten by Shaquille last time. Oh, will they run? Oh, he's had setbacks and all this in the week, and it's just the O'Brien kind of way that come out and win it. But I just don't see, if Shaquille starts better, and there's no reason why he won't, he should win.
All right, and Ed, you're with a horse who I thought represented a little bit of value, but it's not exactly bundles of value. But I think 6 on if the
lost you there, Tom.
It's a good look. It's a good look.
One of his best looks, in fairness. He hasn't got many to. All right.
What's your fancy?
Kinross was the answer. See you, Tom. Thanks. Yeah, I'm with Kinross. I just thought, with all this rain coming, he was much bigger earlier in the week. He's being nibbled in now. I just think he is he's the sleeper, for crying out loud, because he's the joint top rated horse in the field. But with a bit of give in the ground, this horse really does come alive, as we saw last year in the foray. Obviously won the champion sprint at the back end of last season, a bit of cut in the ground. All in all, very good horse. It's just a little bit of guesswork with the weather. But as I said, I don't think it was all that bad a run on his belated comeback in the Jubilee behind Cardem. I think he can turn that form round on rain softened ground. And I noticed he was 2 or 3 points bigger early in the week. He is starting to tighten up a bit. Will Buick booked to ride. Yeah, I had it between Kinross and Shaquille, essentially. Little Big Bear, don't fancy at all. And also, they've got the ground excuse in already. Got that one ready. Saying that they're not totally convinced they want to see a lot of rain for him. And he's had a setback. So, all in all, Little Big Bear bulks up, doesn't he? But, I got it between Shaquille and Kinross, but I thought Kinross was overpriced. Although, as I say, at the time of recording, price is tumbling. He's into 5.5 now. He was 2 or 3 points bigger earlier in the week.
So still no Tom, but kick us off with the first race, the 250 at Newmarket.
Well then, Steve. Glad someone knows what they're doing. 250 indeed. With Havana Blue here. I mean, the Clive Cox team have absolutely sprouted wings, haven't they? They were on fire yesterday with it across the card treble. I think they managed to bash in and, really like the progressive nature of this horse. Won at Newmarket off 83 and then again off 87 last time out. I just seem to be digging out more. Up to 93 here, so clearly more on this individual's plate. But Ryan Moore booked to ride, and I just think he's ticking all the right boxes. Again, we're on the assumption we're on the slow side of good. I don't think that necessarily be a problem. I mean, the horse has some soft ground form. Beating the neck at Salisbury, last year on soft, and similar at Doncaster, was just worried out of it. So I don't think ground's going to be a big talking point for Havana Blue going through the gears, and I thought was the solid one. But what about yourself?
Yeah, I this is one of my bets of the weekend. Quantum Impact, who I was really impressed with at York back in May. I think was that the Dante meeting? Or was that the next meeting? It's probably the next meeting. But hit the line really, really strongly. And there's a couple of winners come out of that, the likes of Saxon King and Skeptic. So the form stacks up, and then was fancied predictably because he'd run so well at York and won so well. He was fancied for the Britannia Stakes, only second favourite.
Yeah,
and he started off in the far side group, and then Frankie, whether he did it by design or whether the horse was hanging, he just came sort of diagonal across to the stand side, and he was going well in a challenging position, but he was just giving up ground all the way there. And whether it was the ground might have been a little bit quick, he'd won on quick at York, but I sometimes think that the nature of the track at York, it doesn't get jarringly quick. And he had one on heavy ground at Newbury the back end of last season, beating the big board, which is form that's worked out well. So if there was a bit of rain around, it wouldn't do him any harm at all, Quantum Impact. I really like his chance. I think bounce back from that Britannia strange kind of way of going. And its previous win, not only was it visually impressive, the form stacks up. So Quantum Impact in the 250. And we've still... I mean, we can split Tom's fee between us. This is
absolutely
great.
Hey!
As I say that,
he comes back.
Just back in to hear that abuse.
We're saying you're getting paid and we're doing all the work. That's about right. But anyway, yeah, we've given our tips.
Have you finished your one? Have you finished your 250?
250, correct.
Yeah. What do you fancy, Tommy? Go on, tell us.
I fancy Royal Dubai, who's I feel like consistently underestimated because he raced on the dirt of Maidan. I thought he emerged as the best in the race at Chester, having sat wide and off, albeit the winner came wide. And I think this trip will be exactly what he wants. So Royal Dubai is a pretty warm shout for me at the prices for that 250. You've done your Quantum Impact in Havana Blue. So should we move on to the superlative?
Absolutely.
Lovely job. Are we frustratingly or surprisingly, we all three of us differ here, and I thought we might agree on at least something. Ed, I'm most interested in your shout first of all. So off you go. The Godolphin Blue against City of Troy. Go on.
Yeah, this is the most tentative picks on the show. Again, it's just a subjective impression of the way in which the horse won an absolute nonsense event last time out at Leicester, but again, just did it in the style of a really good horse. But we saw yesterday, didn't we, to some extent, with was it Imperial Emperor went up against Nostrum, and they go in the deep end. Sometimes they could be found out, and you don't really know. I just find these races, Tom, about which can't offence it. It's very hard to quantify one run. Some of these at much lower levels, some have shown better form. Horses going to prove £10 a stone just for the outage, just for the experience. We don't know how soft the ground's going to be for these 2-year-olds. We don't know if there's any bias. So, it's a tentative selection. Just with the Appleby team, there was a lot made, wasn't there? The Royal Ascot Malays, and first time since 2006 that the Godolphin team had drawn a blank at Royal Ascot. But, I mean, they're absolutely firing again, aren't they? Around 40% for July. So, no worries there, it would appear. And, tentative selection just on the basis of there are so many unknowns. But I thought Great Truth might be the pick. I wasn't just bowled away by City of Troy last time out. Again, it's just an impression, I suppose, a horse leaves on you at that Curragh Maiden. Didn't think it was anything particularly to sit up and get wild about. So, Great Truth. My value played a turn over the Ballydoyle Hot Pot.
And the thing I'll add to Great Truth, or just the Godolphin form, is one thing they were always doing, or Appleby was always doing, was banging in the 2-year-olds. So that definitely wasn't a concern. And they seem, albeit with Adayar disappointing yesterday, they seem to be back on song with the older horses. I sort of was really taken with City of Troy last time. I really liked what he did. He looked, really unfurnished, but he's got a stunning pedigree. I suppose the one concern, I think he's the best horse in this. The one concern I'd have slightly is that he will want further sooner rather than later, and this can be a speed favouring track. But yeah, there was depth to that Curragh maiden, and I really liked the way he did it, and I just earmarked him down as I put him down as the most impressive juvenile maiden winner of the week, and I thought he would massively improve for it. So City of Troy for me, but tempered, enthusiasm tempered, as you say, by the nature of the race. And he is he's 2.25. Great Truth is 4.0. Hartem 11.0. Steve, who do you like?
Well, I just thought it was the case of the betting for me that City of Troy and Great Truth are priced up because it's O'Brien, Charlie Appleby, and Iberian. What he did first time up at Newbury, I thought was really impressive. It wasn't the steepest Newbury maiden or novice race ever run, but he did it very impressive. The way he travelled was really good. He cruised through. He won very comfortably, and he's a horse that deserves a shot at this. And what is he? He's almost double figures, isn't he? Yeah, he is. He's 11.0 against 2.5 and 4.0. So I just think that he's been ignored purely because of the connections of the two other horses, and he looks a smart horse to me. And Charlie Hills is having a really good season, and hopefully that'll continue on to tomorrow.
All right, moving on to the 4 o'clock, the Bunbury Cup. I'll give prices when we get to the selections. Steve, you first of all.
Yeah, this is an interesting race for me because if you look at the there's not many 3-year-olds running this, but when they do, they generally run well. There's only 9 run in the last 10 years. 3 of them have been placed. One was runner-up a couple of years ago, whose name escapes me, but it is important that I get the horse's name. It was Fundamental. Fundamental was runner-up in this. Now, he'd come from finishing 5th in the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot. And there was another horse that was placed in this that had run in the Jersey Stakes, and Streets of Gold, who was 3rd in the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot, only beaten a length and a half, has run better in the Jersey Stakes than the pair of them. So it's got to be competitive. He brings that group form into it. It was one of the stars of last season. He won 5 out of 5 last season for Eve Johnson Horton. He would have won a group races had they wanted to go that way, but they decided, quite rightly, that they wanted to run in the valuable sales races, and it was beating them up. And although he didn't run all that well first time up in the Greenham, I'd say that was a combination of first time out and testing ground, and ran much better at Epsom in the Surrey Stakes, and then took another step forward again at Ascot. So I think Streets of Gold, very interesting. I'd be very surprised if this horse didn't run well. So even at the prices, which I think he is about 10.0, you go winning place. The other one I quite like, a bigger price, who's 21.0, is Leah Special of Roger Varians, who was down the field at Royal Ascot in the Buckingham Palace Stakes, but had no chance from the draw there, the way the race panned out, and he was sort of short of room as well. And before that, he'd been running really well on the all-weather. He was pretty impressive in all right handicaps. I mean, this is going to be a whole lot more competitive, but that would be my 2, Streets of Gold and Leah Special. Oh, we've lost him again. What do you fancy, Ed?
Right, yeah, good. I'm with Lethal Levi in the winner place markets here. All about the trip for this 4-year-old who has only had the one start over 7. That was back in medieval times. And since then has been habitually tried over 6. But becoming more and more apparent to my eye anyway, that this horse is just outpaced over the 6. Ran a cracker when beating a neck on the Knavesmire at York back in May behind Bielsa, was gaining on Bielsa all the time. As I said, joined him on the line, but couldn't quite get there in time. That was over the 6. Looked to be taken off his feet, to my mind, in the Wokingham on very fast ground over 6 when racing on the far side. And then last time out, had a spin on the all-weather at Newcastle, which is a stiff 6. quite an uphill finish to that venue, and again was keeping on strongly in the closing stages. I think just as the horse is getting older, getting a bit slower. And I think they've decided, almost layman's terms, let's have a crack at 7 furlongs, because pretty much that's everything we're being told from a visual perspective. So up to 7 here, has very good form at this track as well. Has won twice, so won't be a problem coming back to this venue. And if we do get the upper end of the rainfall and the word soft appears somewhere in the going description, not going to be a problem, because the horse does have winning form on good to soft. So, yeah, Pat Dobbs on for the Colbert team. I thought at a big price. I don't know where we are, around 20 there or thereabouts. Lethal Levi would be my selection.
Yeah, that's the right sort of price for Lethal Levi. I'm going for Biggles, who is a very quirky, difficult horse. I like the booking of Ryan Moore. What are you laughing at, Ed?
Are you broadcasting this from like your shower cubicle or something? But you put your gilet on. I can't work out what's going on.
Every time we have overcast conditions here, my Wi-Fi every time it pisses it down, my Wi-Fi seems to drop out.
Okay. Didn't you have your toddler chewing through the wires last week, or that was the week before? Or something?
No, that was him just unplugging it.
Oh,
But I think the more we talk about it, the better. I liked, I thought Biggles ran really well last time. I think he's quirky. He wants a rider that knows him, and Ryan Moore does. And I think laying up over 7 is exactly what he wants on this sort of ground. And a bit of cut won't be a problem. That's us done, Bunbury Cup-wise.
Who's he named after, Biggles?
Oh, I don't know. You know, don't you?
I can't believe you don't know.
You've told me before.
Yeah, it's the old boy's own flying fighter pilot, Biggles.
You have told me that. There he is. That's going to need to be clicked up.
doppelganger. Yeah.
Right, Ascot. First of all, 5 furlong handicap, 3 different selections.